The galaxy had always operated on a simple rule. Power belonged to those who were born with it. The ancient races, the Velthari with their crystalline minds, the Dracnoth with their immortal bodies, and the Silurian collective with their shared consciousness, had ruled the stars for millions of years. They built empires that stretched across thousands of systems. They created technologies that could reshape planets and bend the fabric of space itself. They looked upon the younger species with a mixture of pity and disgust. When humanity first stumbled into the galactic community, they arrived in ships held together by hope and welded metal. Their faster-than-light drive was crude, dangerous, and laughably inefficient. The first human ambassador to the Galactic Council stood before beings of pure light and creatures older than Earth's sun. He wore a simple suit and carried nothing but words and determination. The Council laughed, not with cruelty, but with genuine amusement. These creatures from a tiny blue world at the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm thought they deserved a seat among the stars. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in silence as the laughter echoed through the massive chamber. The Velthari High Speaker, a being whose crystalline body refracted light into 1,000 colors, finally spoke. Its voice was like wind chimes in a storm. It explained that humanity would be classified as a Category 7 civilization. This was the lowest possible ranking. They were considered cosmic trash, barely evolved apes who had somehow managed to escape their gravity well. They would be permitted to exist in a small designated zone at the galaxy's edge. They could trade for scraps of outdated technology. They would serve as laborers in the processing plants that the greater races found too tedious to operate themselves. Chen Wei listened to every word. He did not argue. He did not protest. He simply asked one question. He wanted to know how humanity could change their classification. The council fell silent. No species had ever asked that question before. The Dracnoth representative, an ancient being whose flesh had been replaced by living metal eons ago, leaned forward with interest. It explained that classifications were permanent. They were based on biological potential, technological achievement, and evolutionary trajectory. Humanity had scored poorly in all three categories. Their bodies were fragile. Their technology was primitive. Their evolutionary path had led them to violence and self-destruction. Chen Wei nodded slowly. He thanked the council for their time. He returned to Earth and delivered his report. The nations of Earth, for the first time in their long and bloody history, found something they could all agree on. They would prove the galaxy wrong. 300 years passed. The Galactic Council barely noticed. 3 centuries was nothing to species that measured their histories in millions of years. The humans remained in their designated zone. They traded for technology. They sent their workers to the processing plants. They asked endless questions that the greater races found tedious. Why did this engine work this way? What made this material so strong? How did this weapon achieve such precision? The questions never stopped. The greater races answered with impatience. The knowledge they shared was obsolete anyway. It posed no threat. The first sign that something had changed came from the frontier processing station in the Keelix system. A Silurian overseer noticed that the human workers had modified their tools. The modifications were small. An adjustment here, an improvement there. The processing efficiency had increased by 12%. The overseer reported this as a minor curiosity. Humans were good with their hands. It was the one thing their species seemed to excel at. More reports followed. Human colonies were appearing in places where they should not have been able to survive. Harsh worlds with toxic atmospheres. Frozen moons with no natural resources. Volcanic planets that should have killed any carbon-based life. Yet humans built cities there. They thrived there. They adapted in ways that made no biological sense. Their bodies remained fragile, yet they found ways to protect themselves. They could not change their environment like the greater races could, so they changed themselves instead. They wore suits that let them breathe poison, They built shelters that could withstand earthquakes. They created medicines that fought diseases that should have ended them. The Velthari High Council requested a formal assessment of human activity after 500 years. The assessment team returned with troubling news. Human population had grown by a factor of 50. Their technological capability had advanced at a rate never before recorded. They had not merely copied the technology given to them. They had improved it. They had combined concepts from different fields in ways that no other species had ever considered. Their crude faster-than-light drives had been refined into something that rivaled Velthari designs. Their weapons had evolved from chemical propellants to directed energy systems that incorporated Drachneth metallurgy and Silurian targeting algorithms. The greater races held an emergency session. The Drachneth proposed immediate military intervention. The Silurian collective counseled patience. The humans still posed no real threat. Their combined fleet was barely a fraction of what any single major power could deploy. Their worlds could be sterilized in a matter of days if necessary. The Velthari agreed. There was no need for alarm. Humanity would be monitored more closely, but action was premature. Commander Sarah Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the battleship Unity and watched the stars stream past. She was the granddaughter of a processing plant worker. Her grandmother had spent 40 years sorting ore in a Silurian facility, breathing recycled air and dreaming of a day when humans would be more than servants. Sarah had joined the fleet at 17. She had risen through the ranks on merit and determination. Now she commanded the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. Its hull was forged from materials that humans had invented themselves. Its weapons were designed in laboratories, where young scientists worked around the clock to push the boundaries of what was possible. The Unity was not alone. 300 ships followed in formation. They were headed to the threshold, the border of the designated human zone. They were not supposed to cross it. The treaty signed by Ambassador Chen Wei 3 centuries ago strictly forbade human expansion beyond those boundaries. But the treaty also said that humans were Category 7 civilizations. Sarah knew that everything in that treaty was built on the assumption that humans would never change. The galaxy had underestimated them. The crossing of the threshold sparked immediate reaction. Drachneth patrol ships intercepted the human fleet within hours. Their commander, a veteran of wars that had lasted longer than human civilization, demanded that the humans return to their designated space. Sarah transmitted a simple message. Humanity was formally requesting reclassification. They would demonstrate their worthiness through whatever trials the Council deemed appropriate. The Drachneth commander was amused. He agreed to escort the human fleet to the nearest Council station. He expected the journey to be educational for these ambitious primates. He did not expect what happened next. A void serpent emerged from subspace directly in the path of both fleets. Void serpents were ancient creatures, remnants of the universe's earliest days. They fed on the energy of stars and the lives of those foolish enough to cross their paths. Even the Drachneth avoided them when possible. The creature was massive. Its body stretched across thousands of kilometers. Its maw opened to consume the ships before it. The Drachneth commander ordered an immediate retreat. His ships began to turn, their immortal crews preparing for emergency jump. But the human fleet did not run. Sarah gave orders in a calm voice. The Unity and its companions formed a precise geometric pattern. They fired in synchronized bursts, targeting specific points along the creature's body. The Void Serpent screamed in a frequency that cracked the hulls of 2 Drachneth vessels. But the human attack continued. They had studied these creatures. They had analyzed every recorded encounter. They had found weaknesses that no one had looked for because no one had ever thought to fight them. The Void Serpent died. Its body drifted in space, a monument to human audacity. The Drachneth commander stared at his sensors in disbelief. His species had avoided these creatures for eons. Humanity had killed one in less than an hour. He transmitted his report to the Council immediately. The council chamber was filled when humanity's representatives arrived. They were no longer a single ambassador in a simple suit. They were a delegation of scientists, warriors, diplomats, and artists. They carried evidence of 300 years of progress. They showed technologies that the greater races had never imagined. They presented art and music that moved even the crystalline hearts of the Velthari. They demonstrated combat capabilities that made the Dracnath uneasy. They revealed philosophical insights that intrigued the Silurian collective. The Velthari High Speaker demanded to know how this was possible. Humanity should not have been able to advance so quickly. Their biological limitations should have constrained them. Their short lifespans should have prevented the accumulation of knowledge. Their violent tendencies should have led to self-destruction long ago. The human ambassador, a woman named Amira Nakamura, stepped forward. She was the great-great-granddaughter of Chen Wei. She had been trained since birth for this moment. She explained that humanity's weaknesses were actually their greatest strengths. Their fragile bodies made them value life deeply. Their short lifespans made them work with desperate urgency. Their violent history had taught them the price of conflict and the value of cooperation. Every challenge they faced made them stronger. Every obstacle they encountered made them more creative. Every insult they received made them more determined. She told the council that humanity did not want war. They did not seek dominion over others. They simply wanted respect. They wanted the chance to contribute to the galactic community as equals. They had proven that the classification system was flawed. They had shown that potential could not be measured by biology or history. They had demonstrated that the true measure of a species was its will to grow, to learn, to adapt, and to overcome. The council deliberated for 7 days. The Dracnath argued that humanity was too dangerous to elevate. The Silurian collective pointed out that humanity had not attacked anyone. They had only defended themselves and demonstrated their capabilities. The Velthari were divided. Some saw humanity as a threat to the established order. Others saw them as a fascinating anomaly worthy of study and engagement. In the end, the decision was made. Humanity was reclassified as Category 1. They were granted full membership in the galactic community. They were given seats on the council itself. The designation of cosmic trash was erased from their records. In its place, a new notation was added. Humanity was listed as the fastest advancing species in recorded galactic history. They were described as unpredictable, resilient, and essential. Commander Sarah Okonkwo retired from the fleet 20 years later. She spent her final days on a small farm on Earth, surrounded by grandchildren who had never known a time when humanity was considered inferior. She watched the stars at night and smiled. Her grandmother would have been proud. The galaxy had called them trash. They had answered by becoming the heart of something new, something better, something that would shine across the cosmos for eternity. Humanity had not merely proven their worth. They had redefined what worth meant. And the universe would never be the same.